Good morning, everybody. Now that we are over here, let's do the mandatory. Is my microphone working? Am I diffuse and out of focus? Or am I sitting in a ray of sunshine? I can't see what I'm doing. Yes, to all of the above. There you go. It's much nicer coming over here. Outstanding. It's interesting with that monument because there's so many rumors, and you also got to think about Waldenburg, as it was called during the war, or Waldburg. It was a small town, relatively small town, in a, I guess you could say, a rural area, would not be offensive. And I wanted to see the monument because always right now in Poland, or in that area, there's a huge debate going on, including with the people who run the castle. Had a lot of opinions if it should be restored or if it shouldn't. And one of the people at the castle wants to tear it down because it's all about, for him, it was all about Nazis, so it needs to go. And Thomas Jurek wanted to restore it because it was all about the World War I dead. And I figure, okay. Plus, then in 2016, there was a couple of kids play around there, accidentally stabbed his friend. They were playing a prank on him. And there's some people doing strange things at this mausoleum, do little witchcraft ceremonies, whatever they do. So after the kid got stabbed, I actually don't think he died. Remove the graffiti, no kidding. They kind of bricked it up, which obviously, as you can tell, it wasn't hard to get in. And I figure, well, if there's so much talk about it, plus then there's talk about, well, the Russians tried to destroy it after the war, there must have been a reason. And then you had this story about how one of the workers cut the gas to the flame in the center at the end of the fighting of the war, and 300 SS men committed suicide the next day. And you hear all these little stories and especially in that part of Poland, there are so many little stories that we hear constantly. And sometimes you just got to go, yeah, all right, okay, that's nice. I have a hard time believing that anybody fighting a million Russians bearing down on them are going to go, oh, Hansi, we must go to the Mausoleum to get spiritual enlightenment before fighting the million Russians. No. I'm just not seeing it. I don't think anybody who was actually really engulfed in fighting the Russians even noticed. But it's a good story, and that's how local folklore just breeds stories, and that's fine. But I wanted to take a look at it, and when I saw it, there's two other mausoleums in Poland that the Russians did blow up, that were destroyed. That was similar. Okay. Not unusual. The Russians blew up everything they found that they didn't like or understand or thought they had orders to blow up. And so having the Russians blow things up is not really an indication there was anything wrong with it. It was just there. I guess that was reason enough at that time. So I wanted to look at the guys who built it, who funded it, where did they come from? Because if you go online, you get, this Nazi organization, this, that. Well, surprise, 1937, 1938, pretty much everything was a Nazi organization. Not really a big surprise. I could see any involvement in, which is interesting. The Annenberg had nothing to do with this, with the construction of this, for one. But the guy who built it, the architect, that's all he did. He built World War I monuments and cemeteries. Him and the German War Graves Commission were, as I said, after World War I, the French would not repatriate the German war dead that fell fighting in France. So, and they wouldn't, a lot of places have the Germans have a cemetery. So it took some wrangling after, and Treaty of Versailles and blah, 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 before the Germans were allowed to actually erect cemeteries in France. And this guy who built this thing built those cemeteries, and pretty much in the same style. After World War II, he built the same. He built them in Egypt and Italy. And you have mausoleums. The one that built in Egypt is not unidentical. It's pretty much the same build style, the still the same way. So, and I will say this is exactly what it is. It is a mausoleum, and it is to the guys who were killed during World War One. I'm not. I don't read any conspiracies into this. I really do. I don't see what the whole debate is about. Leave the damn debate alone, Bill. And if there's okay, fine. So if it was also a shrine to the 25 NSDAP members that died fighting to take over power in Germany, fine. There's millions of guys that died during World War One. Pretty sure the names. I'm not even sure the names were ever inscribed in this place. It just seemed like a mausoleum. There are no pictures of. There's gossip about SS torchlight parades, but which is also not necessarily an indication of anything occult. The occult, the SS had ceremonies and new traditions. I don't know, it's new organization, and Himmler was deeply inspired by history, by ancient history, by grave sites. He visited graves all over the world. He even went to Egypt and or in Austria and Italy. He visited different graves, old mausoleums. He had an interest in the dead and the princes and so on. And even people in the office made fun of him. So it's not a lot of the torchlight parades, and you see some of the SS in Roman garb that was parading in very inspired clothing from hundreds of years or 1,000 years ago, obviously because of Himmler's inspiration with history. And Himmler did start the NNAB as a counterbalance to the Thule Gemeinschaft, because Thule was very much of an occult organization that started back before World War One, or certainly at the end of World War One. They had some problems in the fightings, and Sebottendorf was a bit of a nut job. And I usually don't, call names, but he was locked up in an asylum for a while, and he was not a baron; he was adopted. So I certainly don't see any of their influence in any of this. I don't even see an SS influences. The only picture I could find, there was only one SS man that was there in the courtyard, and even if they had done torchlight parades to it, it would be the same all over Germany. Some things that even takes place today, as you do torchlight parades for memorials or, other celebrations of the end of war, beginning of war, the fall of war. It's not an unusual occurrence. So I think there's a whole lot of local gossip and rumor that was going to this. But to that, I will say something interesting that you remember. The episode we did where we interviewed Thomas Jurek, and he was talking about how the German Postal Service, has nuclear scientists, had been seconded to the SS, where they were installing a cyclotron in the basement for the SS. And those workers identified according to Thomas, identified a symbol on the uniforms of those SS men that was working in these. And the interesting thing is that symbol of those SS men that was working in those chambers, underground tunnels, installing cyclotrons, were the NNAB. That was the symbol that they said post-war they recognized. If that is true, if that's true, we're looking at wartime memories, past wartime memories of maybe recognizing a symbol on an officer or on a uniform. And I'm just saying, if the NNAB had anything to do with nuclear research, and if the NNAB had a cyclotron, well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Then I think we could take most of our history books and just toss them in the ocean and start all over again, because then there's something that's so far we don't know. But I'm working on my documentary on the NNAB, and so far I haven't found them to have a nuclear program, although it was wartime Germany, so Lord knows everybody did. Right. Sorry, I just wanted to talk about what we were talking about. I always love to talk about the whole occult aspect, because it might not have been as predominant as you would like to see on documentaries since. And yes, it bothers me to see. I think it should be restored. I think it should, and then restored in the memory of the Silesians who died in World War One, because those graves will never be repatriated, and it'll give people a place of that. There is an occult side of parts of the SS. Like I said, I've been working for a while putting enough facts together on the SS, and you have to see it in the light of who Himmler was, because it's all right. Fine, there's a be quiet. There's going to be a conversation. Give me a soapbox. Himmler had a deep fascination with history, and with ancient history and ancient Germanic, but not just that, confined to that. Also, Italy, the Middle East, France. He visited a lot of grave sites, a lot of mausoleums, a lot of kings from back in the days, thousands of years ago. I can't remember everybody he visited. I have it somewhere. That was a deep fascination he had, to the point where the people in his office called him King Heinrich, because I think he had at one point said he jokingly thought he was the reincarnation of one of the old kings from back in the day. And I think Himmler was a very pragmatic person, as was a lot of the leadership of the SS. They were pragmatic people who tried to get something done within what their worldview was, which I think is important to remember. Some of them were outright nut jobs. You had an organization that opened up a door to power for people that probably shouldn't have had it. And I'm not when I say nut jobs, there were some horrible, evil things that happened, and sadistic things that would happen by people in power, not just by the SS, but by every. Okay, number one, no, Himmler was not a chicken farmer. Now we have to stop this. He and Magda had some 10, 15 chickens in the late 20s, early 30s, where there was no money. Inflation was rampant. They had livestock because they had a little house and they had a couple of animals, and which was what you would do for eggs and meat. But he never did have a ton of anything. They also had rabbits, which is interesting because we're not done with the occult, don't worry. One of the things that he did when he founded Dachau was he had a vegetable garden. He was very much into herbs and healing, and natural healing in that sense. And he had them raise rabbits as well. So if anything, he was a rabbit farmer. But no, he was not a chicken farmer. He never had a chicken farm. They just held chickens to survive and eat. Because before the Nazis took power, they didn't have any money. They had whatever they could scrape together, or they could get donated. And interestingly enough, about people like Himmler, he was extremely honest in the sense that whatever donations and money they got from corporations, the bigger they grew, the closer they got to their end goal of becoming the most powerful party in Germany. The donations they got, he turned around and put back to the SS, to the organization. He didn't keep it himself. Even after he became head of the SS, after Hitler took power, he still paid for his own house with his own money. He didn't just take one. One could say that Himmler was not a corrupt person, and he hated corruption. Again, very, very interesting to here's a person who could take whatever he wanted. And certainly he did, in one sense, but lots of people were kicked out of the SS by him because they were corrupt or had stolen money or taken things that weren't them. And there was, during the Night of the Long Knives, there were 3 SS men that were also shot on Himmler's orders because they had been cruel to prisoners in the years before. So it's just interesting to see how things change, because later thousands would be shot and killed and died on that account, but he wouldn't accept cruelty or corruption from his men. Interesting little snapshot there. But when it comes to the occult part, there must have been an occult interest of Himmler. However, after Hess, he flew away to England. All the occultists and readers and dowsers were arrested. And the SD was run by Heydrich, who's Himmler's number 2. So if he really had an interest in these people, he wouldn't have locked them all up. Some of them were gradually being paroled and let out afterward, and some of them were not. He also confiscated and read all their books. I think Himmler was very fascinated with information. And I think he was fascinated by the occult and by history in general to see what could be learned from it. And that's one of the reasons why he established the Annenebe, which eventually grew to hundreds of thousands of people that were a lot of archaeologists that were digging around through Germany. Is it? I thought Himmler's house was gone. I should go see Himmler's house. Oh, I would love to see Himmler's house. I thought I should go see Himmler's house. I have time. Anyway, bloody hell. I did not know that. I was thinking about crawling through Goerings as well. Meanwhile, what I was saying, I just don't see. He put in the SS rituals, being a new organization, they had to build a tradition. And of course, he took from history and torchlight parades and signs and banners and eagles, pretty much took from all the best and created the SS traditions. But from there, and his interest in the occult and history, to seeing some of the high-ranking SS men and doing outright seances, I just don't see it. I'm not saying that there were not some that had an occult interest. After all, some of them had been member of the Thule Gemeinschaft, but I'm not seeing them being particularly influential. Also, that has to be seen in the light of in the 1900s, turn of the century, the 1910s, 20s, 30s, there was a huge interest in occulticism, in alternative practices in history. There were so many alternative viewpoints. Which books were written, so many things were explored, especially after World War I, where everything, especially in Germany, Austria, everything was shit, and they had no money, and inflation was, people start believing what they hope would can kind of, you pray to the gods you hope will help them. Is this bunker there too? Yeah, pretty much, Uncle. That is pretty much exactly the thing. The interesting thing is, and it was said at the Nuremberg trials to the American psychiatrist who was interviewed, Huss, the last commander of Auschwitz. He said he wouldn't tolerate cruelty to the Jews. They were there to kill them, but not to torment them. It's an interesting way of looking at things. I guess that's sort of a novel way of doing things. And Crowley, Crowley, there's a number. And Hess was far more influenced by seers, readers, occultists than I think Himmler really was. I think Himmler, from everything I can read and see from the people around him and his own diaries, I see Himmler as more of a pragmatic person, interested as one who would actually go out and practice the occult. And he took a lot of the Roman ceremonies and implemented them in the SS parades and so on. I mean, Serge, if you want to go there, I think of the war dead, the population of the Jews that died during the war, the entire war, I think was 6 or 7%. The Russian used to be farmers, are probably high up on there. Probably more civilians. I haven't broken down the numbers, but it was the fairly small number, and it might be depending what the numbers actually are. Crystal Knight. Haha. That was a Goebbels thing. Which is interesting because the burning of the books was an initiative by students from some of the universities. Okay, look at Germany in a way where, okay, now here's some people that new people are in power, and everybody wants to outdo themselves in their zeal to show how dedicated they are to this new Reich. Not unlike things that might be going on today, in some ways. And the book burning was something they wanted Goebbels to come speak to. Himmler really didn't have any part in that. And even Goebbels was on the sidelines if he should speak at this event where the students would come up with the books they deemed they didn't want to read, and similar things took place in other towns. It was a student body initiative. Don't know where the professors were on that, but and Goebbels, he did agree to speak, but he used to do very fiery speeches. But on this particular one, it was very much of a subdued speech, which is interesting because everybody on the leadership side had a little bit of trepidations on the whole book burning idea. It wasn't really organized by the party or by any of the top leadership in the Nazi party, which is interesting. Thank you, Stuart. I appreciate it. Oh, yes. That's exactly right. And oh yeah, I can't remember the entire details. There were atrocities that were done that were outright mistakes, but there was also a lot of counters that was done. Now, speaking of maybe they weren't wrong in burning Marxist books. Come on, they burnt David Irving's book 20 years ago, so it's not like this is not like book burning is a new thing. Destruction of information is not a new thing. We don't like this, so we banned the website. Back then, they didn't like it, we burned the book. It's not a new theory. Atrocities in villages in France, for instance, back during the Franco-Prussian War in the 1870s, the French had behind the lines, I can't pronounce them, I can't remember what they call them, pretty much civilians in uniform that would run around behind the lines, partisans, and shoot and attack the German regular soldiers, and which was against the rules of law even back then, which would then lead to atrocities where the Germans said, well, you have civilians that we don't know who are running around behind the lines, shooting up our soldiers, we'll burn down your village. That was the Franco-Prussian War. World War I, German soldiers burned down a couple of villages because they thought the civilians were sniping at them. Some of them were outright mistakes and some of them were not. World War II, civilians behind the line shooting at German soldiers, will burn down your village and shoot everybody. Russians did the same. American Civil War did the same. This really is where before 1850s, it was not unusual to take out revenge killings on civilians. After the American Civil War, that was something the Americans stopped. But it certainly did happen during the American Civil War that reprisals were taken out on civilians. Same thing then continued to happen in 1870, World War I, World War II. So, and of course, when you have a village where somebody comes in from the outside and shoots you up and leave, reprisals are not honest because you rarely don't get to shoot the people who actually broke the rules of war and shot at you. Anyway. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, now, as I said, we don't need to ban books. We can just ban websites or information. You see the whole cancel culture thing going on. It's the same thing. The socialists did the same thing. The communists did the same thing. Instead of having open, honest conversations about events, opinions, we don't have exchanges of information now. They didn't have it in the 40s in Germany. They didn't have it in the 20s in Russia, and before that in Russia, they certainly didn't. unless we can have open, honest conversations where everybody can freely talk and communicate and express their opinions, well, we're going to have a problem. And just like they always did. Oh, absolutely. Sean, absolutely. People, they've been digging up these places for forever. Just because somebody said, and it's not that hard to start a rumor. We can start a rumor right now, and then 10 years from now, it'll have grown into be a thing. And then 20 years from now, people think it really happened. So that's why it's so important to go to the place, take a look at it, like I did. Well, take a look at it. Let's take a look at the guys who built it and find out what else he did. Well, this isn't totally in line with everything else he did. This is probably just exactly what it was. I think a lot of the occultist rumors sprung up after the war, and then people started digging and looking and crawling through, and that's why hippies. That's why it's so important to preserve and visit these locations, because they disappear. And it's interesting. I got an email back from the Dual Mittelbau tunnels, the museum. I said, well, I would like to come out and do a documentary, go through, do some diving on the tunnel systems and see what was actually produced there and look at the factories. Well, we've been closed forever, was the reply. We're still going to be closed. We don't know when we're going to open, and we're not interested in what happened in the tunnels. We're only interested in what happened to the slave laborers. And I'm like, well, that's great. But there are actually historical ramifications of what happened in these tunnels that are important to other people than, yourself. But those are the people who keep the doors to what is supposed to. They're supposed to be historians running museums. They're supposed to have an open mind of what happened in these places, not just to the people, but also technically. And it's very, very frustrating when you have historians who do not want to protect all history, even the history they don't agree with or is not pleasant. You cannot just pick and choose what history you like and what you don't like. That's not how it works, at least not how it should work. And yeah, there were certainly people with occult interests in the Third Reich, but it's certainly not like we didn't have some of those in England. And let's not talk about the Canadian Prime Minister. He was, what did they do? Made decisions of state based on where the arms of his clock were, and he took advice from his dog that had died some years before. So it's not like we didn't have a bunch of nut jobs that ran World War II. I think we can say that. There's some special people ran World War II. Right, so they were only interested in, yes, that's pretty much what they said, and I understand you. The thing about it is, when you talk about the Holocaust, which for a very large part consisted of people being worked to death, well, shouldn't we look at what they were actually being worked to death on? Which is something that I think is rather important, especially when it's historical or significant. But every museum you go to in Germany and Austria, it is only dedicated to that. It is not really about what took place in that particular place, which is rather frustrating, because there's so sometimes you need to. It would be nice as a historian to take a step away from where we know about the world condition and the laborers, and we're not taking anything away from them. But I would like to see the technological side of World War II and what actually happened. And what they created and what they built, because a lot of that affects our world today. So, it's an uphill struggle. But I think, yes, Churchill the alcoholic used to like to dictate to his secretary naked. I'm just saying that might be a little strange, but who am I to judge? Frank Tirua. That's absolutely right, Henry. That was Tirua. Frank Tirua. And yes, David Irving is recovering from a throat issue. He was hoping to start doing speeches or tours on the Himmler books in next year. So we will just wait and see. There was a question I just missed. Yeah. Slave laborers get paid minimum wage. And they're so proud of it here in America that they got $15 an hour. They didn't even realize their cheese is now up by $2 from last year. And their gas is $1 more, and their rent is up $200. But I'm sure the $15 an hour will make a difference. Bring back the Himmler Göring division. Oh, where did it go? Where were they deployed last? Hammond Göring division. Where were they fighting last? I do not remember where everything is, where everything was. What happened to Himmler's wife? Well, she survived. She lived, and she got to keep Himmler's house because that house they had bought before the war. When she inherited some money, and she had a business, and Magda. And no, that was Goebbels. I'm sorry, of course not Magda. That was Goebbels' wife. I read a lot when I'm not here with you, okay? Himmler's wife had a business at I think she ran a retirement home with somebody else. And she sold that when they got married. And for that money, she put down the money on their house. So the house was in her name. So after the war, she was allowed to keep the house because it wasn't his or in his name. And she lived, and she was aware that Himmler had two other children. I believe Himmler's mother was starved to death in East Germany. On the other side, was sad. His father died before the war, way before the war, and of course his one daughter died in the 90s. And then there's the other two children he had with Hedda, his secretary. Okay, back in the day, you had affairs with your secretary. And a lot of letters between the two. I'm going to say David Irving's recovering from drinking. I don't have the impression that he drink. I don't know. I saw the man drink coffee. No, I don't have time to drink. I can't edit while drunk. Well, probably not. But suck balls, you. Oh, that's for Trey, not for you. It's Trey and I have done a bunch of movies together. Oh, speaking of crazy people, eh? We are in post-production with it, and I'm just waiting for the music to be done, and then we're kind of good to go, and then we can do another. How you doing out there? You got married, kids, Trey? Something? I don't see my friends enough. We gotta do a movie. We gotta do something again soon. Something. Still want to do Terminazi, but anyway, we can talk internally. We can talk internally later. No, I did not find out, but I bought a new one, and I'm going back there next week, and I will see. And still don't have any interesting explanation on that one, but I really want to see a GPR scan of what's underground on that one. Oh dear Lord, yes, people are terrible creatures to each other. But I guess we sort of take care, Trey. Say hi to everybody down there. See you soon, I hope. Trey, Bikefest, Biketober or Bikefest next year. Damn it. Anyway. Wait a minute. I was pitched at for not bringing up the questions that I was reading. So I can do that. Yes, I was. So you take that one. Bloody hell, that was the wrong one. Sorry. That's why I shouldn't be trusted with. Thoughts on Himmler's? There. Himmler needs to reduce the death counts in the camps. That's very interesting because, yes, there was quite a lot of orders that came down because the numbers of deaths were too high. And was it? Oh, I talked about that a little time ago, and that's something else I'm going to have to. I want to go more in depth with when I get back from Mauthausen, because I want to try to break down exactly how this system worked. And there was orders from above on trying to reduce the number of deaths, and trying to be pragmatic about it. You don't want your labor force to starve or die, because then they are not an asset if they can't work. And if they die or they're too sick or they're too malnourished, then they can't work and then they can't make you money. And believe it or not, most of this revolved around getting the people you have stored in camps create revenue and war production for you, which is a very sad and tragic way of looking at things, but that is really what it was. You have to think about during World War I, there was always prisoners of war were always put to work in the fields or by everybody. Except when you get to World War II, it really became a thing. Plus, a lot of the occupied non-combatants, which were Jews and Gypsies, and obviously a lot of prisoners of war, especially from the East, were put in camps, and there they were. And what are you going to do with them? We need labor. So that really organized this into a labor force that were living on just the bare essentials. And yes, it was sad. It was not out of line with what had happened in previous wars, which is the interesting thing. The SS just took it to a whole new level, literally running it as a business. So for Himmler to say, well, we can't starve them to death because then they can't work, it's bad for business. That had unintentional consequences in some places also that I will get into a little bit more. Hang on. What was being made in the camps generally? They made pretty much, well, in the camps, there were some of the ghettos where they repaired German uniforms, made shoes, made boots, made simple things that where materials could be transported into the camp or the ghetto and then fixed, repaired, worked on, and then picked up in exchange of food, sorry. And then there were all the satellite camps. It after a while, it became clear that they had to disperse German industry, and German industry needed these laborers. So they started building labor camps near all the different industries, the tunnels, the undergrounds. And that is why, because I don't have one. I don't have one, that's why. Why I don't have a LiDAR, that's why. So all these laborers, the work wasn't for the most part conducted in the camps, except for Mauthausen. They had a stone quarry, but they were conducted on sites for wherever these construction projects or underground work facilities or the factories were, and that's where you had the labor camp constructed near. That was a bit of a logistic building. So, but all the work started. That's why you have these hundreds of labor camps throughout Germany, Austria, and the occupied territories, because you had all the prisoners started in the main hub, or the laborers started in the main camp, like Mauthausen, Auschwitz, or Dachau, and then they were sent from there to the satellite camps where they actually did the work. Which is also why you had a whole lot of different camp commanders, sub-camp commanders, and they relied on capos that were fellow prisoners to enforce the rules and what they wanted to do. Speaking of logistics, have you? No, you haven't seen, because it's on my Patreon. That the problem with YouTube is I can't post large documents, for instance, here. So I can sort of post them on my Patreon. I posted a list of all the underground factories. It is a very, very, very long list. I will make it public so you guys can see it. It really is something else. There were hundreds of factories that moved in underground. So we're not ever going to actually be done here, not to worry. Plus all the ones that were probably forgotten or haven't been found or were covered up because they were smaller, and you never know what they made. Like I said, the nuclear research plants didn't take up much space and could be run on a generator. So you could literally put one in practically in a big house's basement. Okay, so oh, speaking of equipment, I did buy something new with some of you your donations. I bought a thing. I bought a thing. Either it is an instrument to measure the genitals of small furry animals, or it is a 3-point gimbal for my camera, so I can give you some more smoother footage. We'll find out as soon as I figure out how it works. Pretty sure the instruction manual is in Chinese, but I'll figure it out. I just want to make sure that going through the Bergkristall tunnels, I want to give you guys some really good footage. And there's some other places that we're looking at. And I had some really good calls from Austria where I'm visiting. I will be leaving on Monday. And I will be back on the 10th, and I will try to get you some episodes done from the road, of course. And but it's I was looking for I was waiting for Lady Blah Blah to get back to me with on the Luftwaffe, the huge Luftwaffe bunker in Holland near Aachen. Can't find it. It's a very large above ground structure that might have been turned into a museum. I had it dropped on my Google Maps, the only justification to use Google. Can't find it. Can't find a huge Luftwaffe bunker. So any of you guys in Holland, Belgium, that part of Germany, I know there's a couple of really large above ground Luftwaffe command centers or bunkers. Just drop me a note on that, because apparently can't find it. Oh, that's what I wanted to do with you guys today. I wanted to go over Kammlers locations and see who lived near them, because I want to, like I said, Kammlers got about 22. I will be coming to England next year. I just don't think I can do it. Earth sonar. Also, you remember, if you give me a piece of electronics, we have to make sure that it is stupid proof so I can actually use the damn thing. Let's just face facts here. Hitler never joined the Kammlers. No. There were both Goering and Himmler had some interest with socialist groups, because, come on, we're talking 18, 19-year-old kids. There's a post-World War I. They're looking to figure out what they believe in, where they are, where they stand. So Channel Islands will also be next year, because there's no reason. If I go there now, given what the weather is, the same thing as Norway is probably going to have to wait, because it's out by the coast. You have the ocean. It's going to be November by the time I get there. It's going to be wind. Can't hold my damn camera straight. The drone will fly away. Blah, blah, blah. So I'd rather wait until spring, until the weather is steady enough that I can actually show you guys what's there without drowning too many drones. So that's why this spring, summer for those coastal locations, unless I am there, and I want to do some things in England with Drakenefeld, so it's going to take, so I can't make that a quick visit. And since he, opposing me, have a life and wife and everything, he will require a little bit more planning than just, sometimes I guess the good thing about being single is I can just pack and go. Hello, France. Bonjour. Bonne nuit. I guess it's night by now. I do have a PayPal. It is on lostbattlefields.com on our website, where I will also put the entire... That's the weird thing about that website. I don't know if I can actually post it. If I can post it on a Word document, I have all the locations, and there's still some missing. I don't know if I can post it on my website either. Oddly enough, strangely enough. Oh, I love the TV shows where they found some of the Roman remains. I would love to see Hadrian's Wall and some of those sites from back then. There's going to be quite a bit of World War I coming up over winter here for you guys, just because it's really, really cool. And on Sunday, my World War I episode on Great Forts is coming. And honestly, I have uploaded it 3 times and taken it down because I wanted to fix something. So I'm kind of excited about it because I have been fly fucking it from here on into Sunday, literally Sunday. So now you're going to be stuck with it. Yeah, I mean, somebody who knows GPR would be kind of nice to come with me, and maybe I can convince Crystal Flucken to come with me and show me, but we shall see. I know Alex, she has one as well, from what I understand. I'm going to try to, I don't know if any of you guys are in Austria. Do you know the B9 tunnel system outside Vienna? It was claimed, of course, it was blown up by the Russians. It was an underground factory as well of Kammlers, and they blew up the entrances, and they were sort of been pried open since, so you can get in there. Just any of you guys know if you can still get in. There's also the B2 tunnel in Germany. The pictures and everything I hear, the Port of Westphalia. I really want to go and see that. However, I think it's a B2 in Port of Westphalia. I see pictures of very large bricked up tunnels. So if anybody's around there, tell me if they exist. But like I said, there's the 22 projects of Kammlers. There's another tunnel. There's a couple more tunnels. Also Svalbard, I'm going to go there, and which is not that far from Jonastal, which means a lot more industries been hiding in the mountains and in the underground of Germany than we thought. I will go to my Patreon, and I will make public the document list of all the tunnel systems and all the factories that moved underground in Germany. And I'm telling you, we'll be doing this for a while. Who am I endorsing? Who am I endorsing, and what are they bribing me with? Look, this was an underground project. Yes. Is that on my list? What am I doing? Where's this? I get a couple of guys out in Vienna who are looking out for me. Oh, you guys might get a kick out of this. Well, Imperial German is Tyrol. Yes, Tyrol is awesome. Good food. I heard back from the authorities of Vienna, from the Burgmeister's office. I wanted to see if they would let me into one of the 2 very large flak towers that you saw a video of like a month ago. They would not let me in the flak towers because they're not structurally safe. Yeah, you saw the photos. I think not being structurally safe is probably not exactly correct. I might call me silly. Like, there's enormous amounts of rebar and cement. They'll be there by the time our children dies of old age. But no, they're not safe. Like, I always use a drone, unless the weather gets in the way or trees ooh, bloody hell. I have the thing for, good that you reminded me. I need to get the blades out for my drone. I have little blade protectors because I keep flying it into things because, I'm an idiot. And I have to pack them because I forgot them last time. I also have to call DJI because my drone will not hover, especially underground. I don't know why. That's why we're here. We're here to make sure I get notes on what I'm doing, right? Let's just remember that. Yeah, the flak towers are not safe. No, that's a thing. There's nothing in them. They're not even trying to hide anything. They're just, no. We don't want to talk about it because what if somebody makes it look good and they're all a symbol of Nazi oppression? I'm like, yeah, they're also just a very large construction symbol of towers that kept thousands of people safe from bombing. They're there. Go with it. Just let's look at the structure, look at the architecture, try to figure out how they built these things. What did they do? Scaffolding up 10 stories high with that? It's just, it really boggles the mind how they built these things, especially the tall, slender ones in Vienna. I have made other calls, and friends are making calls. And this is why we are here. We're here because I'm the talking Muppet that can crawl out there, and you guys who don't have the time to go crawl out there can sit at home and tell me where to go and what you find, and we can all share information. And that, I think, is the most important thing, and why we're doing this, to share information that we can then go look at, or I can then go look at, especially because I spend more time editing than I do researching, which is starting to get to me a little bit here now that I'm leaving in a couple of days, and I still have days that are not booked. And I think actually that's kind of what safety comes like third or fourth after morning coffee. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is that the problem we're having is I'll go see the fish. I'll go see the fishes, okay? Oh, you see the puppy fish. Honestly, actually, I thought the aquarium was in Germany, outside Berlin somewhere. But hell, I'll go there. The problem I think we're having as historians that are trying to uncover things that are not just regurgitating the mainstream narrative is that everyone is reluctant to talk to everyone else or share information. We conferences because everybody wants to be the one that breaks the big scoop. And I think we should have more historians do conferences. I think we should have more seminars on locations. And the problem with historians today, again, we don't stand together, united as a front against those who are trying to keep things from us. And as long as we individually come knocking on the mayor's door one by one, he's going to say no one by one. If we do petitions of hundreds of reputable historians and me, and we have signatures signed by tens of thousands of citizens that don't you want to know, and present that to the authorities. So this is how many people want to know. We stand together. And I understand why everybody wants to be the one who gets the credit for the finding. I don't give a damn. I don't want the credit for anything. I just want to know. And if somebody else is the one to find what we're all looking for, I'll be glad to do the interview with him or her, because I think that it's far more important to get, number one, to document everything before it disappears, which was my primary mission here. And then second of all, let's talk and share. And because I do a video on something doesn't mean that in a couple of years or 5 years I have to do the same video about the same thing again. The thing have changed. We learned new things, and there's a new generation. Hopefully that will be interested. So, don't really know what I'm saying there, but I really would like to see more of a united. Lisa, you take care. I will chat with you all next time. I would like to see more historians actually unite and stand together in their research or in their demand for information. But a lot of the people who have very close to breakthroughs, they don't want to share what they have so far, and I get it. They don't want to wait until the book comes out. They want to wait until their press kit, and that's fine. No, I like my 3-day shave. But yeah, you're right. Come on, I just woke up. I haven't even done with my coffee yet. Oh, Bob, let me see. Where is it? What are you sending me there, brother? What do you got? Nope, can't do that. Can I? Come on. Yes. What the? Why is there an address on there? There we go. Let's see what Bob sent me. He sent me a square of right, Bob, what did you send? What did you send me? Ooh, I see structures. I see things. This looks interesting. Damn, where's mine? There it is. Is that the one I'm looking for? Or is it, is this the little one? Where's my maps? There they are. No, that is the one, isn't it? Oh, there it is. Thank you, Bob. Why did I not? Because I saved it as Königsweg. Well, that doesn't tell me anything about what I'm doing, did I now? Outstanding. Oh, we're back to the Hammond Göring division. Make what we're doing on them. Outstanding. Now, good. Now I can go harass them. Need coffee? Yes, it's like empty and it's weak. I wish I had more time to read more books. But yeah, I mean, that's how I started, because I just got tired of the mainstream lack of information. It all becomes about glamorized. Oh, look at this! Look at this! Look at this! You don't actually learn anything, but you see 5 seconds of something flashy that looks interesting, and then you can go do your own research from that. That rings a bell. Simon, why does that ring a bell? That rings a bell to me. Why is this? No thinky, no coffee. Oh, that. Oh, yes. That's what. That's why. The nukes are extremely interesting. I think there's a technology tree that has begun to grow in the 30s and through the war that we haven't heard of yet. And I, quite frankly, am not sure I even know what it is, but I think it has grown parallel with the nuclear. The nuclear is interesting because we haven't been given the truth or the whole picture of what actually happened. I have no doubt about that. But there's also a separate technology that has sprung up and was researched that I really have no idea. I'm going to the old Siemens bunkers, and I'm going to some of the old AEG locations because I think they were involved. And I've been trying to reach their main office, but for some reason they don't really want to tell me what secret research they did for the SS during the war. Silly people. So AEG, I really want to talk to their historical research department because they did something, and we'll see. She is no longer alive, but she did a lot of research. Oh, see, what I was told once was to start doing this. That's not the one. See, tell me to do things. That one. She did a lot of interviews and radios, and she did talk about it. She's not alive. She passed away. But she talked about it on camera, on radio, have pictures and videos of her footage. So it's not like she didn't share everything she knew. And again, the really interesting thing about her is that the guy who told her to get up in the steeple and take a look at night, he worked for the German Postal Service, which means the Postal Service, the SS, and the Army Research Command all worked together on this nuclear device. It's something we've all told that they all have separate. They all work separately. Well, apparently they work together on that one. I think that is more significant than we might think, because that's one of the things we've all been told that they didn't do, that they had separate research and they did separate venues and they didn't work together. Well, apparently they did. One of the hotels. Oh, I would love to. Um, that would be cool. Um, you know what? This is the most uncomfortable damn chair I ever had. I needed a better chair because I spend 12 hours a day sitting here looking at screens, editing. It's terrible, terrible, uncomfortable. It's too small. It's just, I figured that would be the most comfortable chair I could get, but I was wrong. This chair will at some point in time go flying over the balcony. Damn it. I did not know that, but I was. Get an office. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, sure. So somebody. You know what? I wouldn't want to. I would prefer to work from home than go to an office. I go to the office sometimes or the studio, but I get. Brother, why? I can work from my living room, and I can actually just get up and start. But yeah, it is impossible to find a good chair. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about Kammlers locations, so I'm going to minimize you for a minute and see if I can find. Final. My document from the FBI, CIA. That is called. I wish they could just label. There you go. Why can't they just label things? This is what this is. Where are you guys? You guys are. All right, now, where did the damn document go? There we are. All right, now since I can't just do a screen sharing with you because I don't know how to, let's have a look at. You know what? This is live and public on my Patreon. There's all the SS tunnel systems built by Kammler and signed off on him, with all the information that it's interesting. The CIA sent me, so this was the best quality they had. Yet online, I can find better copies and color scans of some of them. But there's all the tunnel systems, and there's also a list of where they are and what the cities nearby are. So if you guys would take a look at. Go to my Patreon. It's free. Look at this. Look at these maps. These are the 20 systems that Kammler built. And let me know if you live anywhere near them or if you know if they are accessible. They can be unofficially accessible. That is perfectly fine, as long as there's not an enormous brick wall. Because me to sit here and list names of cities seems kind of silly. But you guys know. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. Can we make it coffee? Can we make it 50-50 coffee beer money? Because I'm out of coffee. It's a terrible, terrible thing to wake up in the morning and find yourself out of coffee. I really wanted to do a movie about the Dealavanger Brigade. That was an interesting bunch of people. Speaking of how powerful people, or how the wrong people got into powerful positions that they shouldn't have been. Don't even. The different measure, Emil Matsov. I have. Well, of course, no. I don't have any I don't have any new information of what happened to Emil Matsov, but I have, through friends of friends, petitioned some of the people in the Polish government to dig up all the war crimes trials papers and see what they come up with. I think for him, we're going to have to, him and certain others, and Spornback, those two, I really need to read their wartime trial paperwork statements. And I need to find somebody higher up in the Polish government. I may have found somebody who knows somebody. So I'm working on that one. It is not a forgotten cause. Those two people are on the number 1 and 2 on my list of people besides Kammler, believe me. Come to the UK, outstanding. Thank you, Stuart. I'm backing up a bit. That was Matsu. And Spornberg and Matsu were the two people who talked about the bell and the evacuation of it afterwards, just to catch you guys up. I know I only had one coffee thing left, and I cheated. It was a pod. I didn't even brew it myself. I don't know. Coffee pod is great, is easy, but it's still cheating. Let's face it. Yeah, I need it. Yeah. Well, sure, come when I get back, we'll do that, since I'll be spending a couple of months of winter sitting here doing this. Not much. You asked about what David Irving thinks about these. Not much. I asked him several times. I just don't think this is his main area of study, to be quite honest. And I think possibly since his books on both the rocket and the nuclear program have come out, more information have come out than was available to him then, I think. But believe me, it is probably the number one thing I will ask him. Hopefully I get to see him. Hopefully I get to see him next year somewhere, somehow, well, in England. But that is my number one question to him, because and also he did give me a little bit of a hint that read the second Himmler book, the one that's coming out next year. And like, okay, I sort of got what I took as a hint that he's still working, that some of this will be incorporated in the book. It could just be wrong, but we'll see. But I will be back to that. All right, guys. So Himmler, yes. Polish. Thank you. Ooh. That was the other thing that was interesting about what Kammlers factories and private businesses on the side. Everybody had businesses, and all the businesses are still there one way or another. They still kept running. It is Halloween. No. I don't bring a whole lot of Douglas. I don't bring a whole lot of beers to underground bunkers. I figure going into weird underground places and then getting drunk seems just like a really bad idea, or something I guess I should have done when I was young, if I ever was. Although it doesn't sound like a bad idea, but it will be a weird ass date. What happened to the Plant episode? But it should play. I think the link initially didn't work because I had to upload it separately to Vimeo and then add the link to Patreon. It should work now. It worked last time I looked, Brian. So take a look. They had weapons programs that we still don't know about. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I paranormally, I have not actually ever experienced anything out there. I always said I'm very open to speaking to the dead if they have something to say. They worry me a lot less than most of the living. And if I need to bring a beer in order to facilitate that, go for it. Speaking of bikes, I have to go take my Harley to the gym, and I have to go. I have to go buy a new shovel because I left my shovel in Germany last time, and you never know when I need one. Oh yeah, IG Farben remained in business for a long time, and they really weren't liquidated. They just were broken up into a whole bunch of small entities that I am sure, just personal opinion, I seem to remember seeing something to that fact, but I believe that they are pretty much still run and owned by the same people, just under different names or the same board in some which way. I don't think they really ever were broken up. And the guy who ran IG Farben barely did any prison time either. So, like I said, all the business are still there. Himmler was not a stupid man at all. I'm going to try to follow Trail Barton Borman. Yes, I am. That's why I'm going to South America next year, I believe. Being drunk in a bunker could be referred to as an occult practice 100 years. It might be referred to as an occult practice now. I guess it depends who you're with. If I bring candles, then totally a seance, right? I was about the same. Okay. BMCG, not entirely impossible that some sort of descendants. Now, the Nazis never surrendered during World War II. They continued. They changed uniforms, changed MOS. And if you look at German business politics, the EU, and everything that came after World War II, it seemed like they revamped their direction of thought, where the old guys would still be anti-Semitic as part of their philosophy, and others. You saw a new generation of, I would say, the same people running things around the world, where the philosophy have changed. And I think you can take some links to certain aspects of globalism or international socialism from the National Socialism. Like I don't like to talk current politics at all, but was it Eisenhower that warned us against the military-industrial complex, and what businessmen run that, and what businessmen ran World War II in Germany? Big business have always run things off the edge. Whatever they decide to call themselves or label themselves as, we are still, especially in America now, a country that is run by businesses, not really certainly not by the people. We don't have any say. So anyway, that was I promise, my only current gripe on current day politics. Hang on, where are you? You mean as in the hospital, Tom? I'm not curious. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay, now I'm just agreeing. I'll blank. Yes. The campus. All right. It's interesting. I wrote Charity Anlage Hospital to try to get in touch with somebody in their public affairs department, just talk about a little bit more about what took place there during the war, if anything. And sorry, I can only copy paste there. Obviously, shockingly, they did not answer. I know that's a shock to everyone, but not really. But you know what? I am seeing Sasha from Berlin Underworld on Wednesday. Ooh, really? And I will ask him. Reduc, thank you. That's interesting. Another place I can get in trouble going to. Leo, I'm going to catch so much flack from someone, Karen somewhere, if I even answer that. But, I mean, it was bug disinfectant. It just, I guess, well, yeah, we'll take that one on private chat at some point. Yay. I really am looking forward to seeing Russia. Anyway, I am going to run away because I have to pack and I have to figure out how this thing I bought works, and I have to pick up my new Geiger counter and all those other things I have to do. I have drill tomorrow, and then Sunday, maybe I'll do a live after. It depends. I need to pack and I need to book some more appointments, find some places before I go. And then from the 18th to the November 10th, I'll find a place with some sort of reception, and we'll do a live chat and catch up on everything. If you have any ideas, short, concise emails, preferably with a coordinate. If there's a hole in the ground, you think I'm predominantly going to be Austria, Germany, France, Denmark, Belgium, in that circle. I don't have as much time, because I don't have as much money to spend on this one as I did last time. This was, like I said, a little bit more unplanned. I'm going to spend some time in Austria, and I'm hoping for some things. We'll do some lives. There'll be some episodes coming up. Don't worry. After all, YouTube won't pay the bill unless I upload something every week. But yeah, if you have something specific on mind, do let me know, and hopefully maybe we can do a quick chat on Sunday. I'm really excited about that World War One episode, and there's a World War One bunker test city they built out there that I kind of want to show you too. Oh heck. And I will, as usual, I'll try to reply to everything, but driving around is going to give me less time, but I'll give it a shot. You guys all be safe, and take care, and let's have more individual ideas. I love that, plans. But I'll be around, and do check out those the Kammler maps on the Patreon, and see if there's any of those locations you know of any access to that I don't know. Toodles.